Alright YouTube, so we are back of course to talk about some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and today we have a bit of a different video. So there's been a discussion over the past however many days, ever since we got the cover for the Ultimania Plus, or the Material Ultimania Plus that we're getting in July, because it gave us a bit of a different angle on the key art that we had of the group at the end of the highway. And what we have here are people trying to take the Ultimania cover art image, the full version of it, and are trying to imply that Yuffie's key art image is somewhere within that vicinity, despite the pictures being very, very different. And I suppose the implication would be something along the lines of Yuffie just being near our group near the end of the game, she's right by them as they're leaving Midgar or something. I don't know why this topic exists, but it does, and I felt like discussing it. So right here we have the key art for Yuffie when it comes to the Yuffie DLC, the Intermission DLC, and the only thing that people are really linking this to the Ultimania Plus's cover image is because they're standing on still beams, and that's all the proof that anybody needs, despite these images being very, very different, also ignoring the fact that this image is just an updated version of the key art from the original game. It's just the modern version of that with her and Sonon. Instead of her overlooking Wutai, she's overlooking Midgar. Also, the people who seem to think that Yuffie and Sonon are near our group are completely ignoring the fact that you can zoom in and see, the fucking wall of Midgard that's a mile or two or three or some shit away, and all, the slums that are beneath them. And if you go over to the cover image and look around, you can see that they're clearly at the edge of Midgar, which we know they are anyways based on the original game. You're not really much of an FF7 fan if you don't know that they're at the edge of Midgar here. You see no slums anywhere. You can see the desert and the fucking mountains and hills or whatever out there. There's no slums. They're nowhere near each other. So that alone is pretty much the end of the conversation. The images are vastly different. Also, our group is overlooking a sunrise on the outskirts of Midgar, whereas Yuffie and Sonon are looking at a sunset. Those are very clearly different times of day, different locations. Also, the fact that people are just ignoring that it's just an updated version of her key art from the original game. It's looking too much into the Tifa Nibelheim well key art, or looking too much into the Aerith one, where we're seeing Aerith clearly overlooking some vast world in front of her. She's not within Midgar within this key art, but it's just updated key art from the original game because it was her around the airship. Despite her never coming in contact with the airship in the original game, she was already dead by the time we get it. Also, really quickly, just throwing this in because I just noticed it looking back at this original key art. You can see that the Mako reactor that's right near them, which would be at the edge of the wall of Midgar. So again, clearly nowhere near Yuffie and Sonon. Also, if you take these two images and actually look at them, they're not 100% the same image, just at a different angle. And the only reason I notice this is just looking too much into it for this topic. You have stuff Red 13 in the original key art is kind of angled towards our group, his upper body and stuff. Whereas with this other image, he's kind of facing straight forward. You have stuff on this image, Cloud's Buster Sword's going behind the bike, whereas with this image, it's going in front of the bike. You also have Barrett standing in front of the bike on this image, but with this image, he's behind it. You also have Tifa's hair going off to this angle, whereas with this image, it's going off to that angle. So the original image, it's going to her left. This image, it's going to her right. You also have Aerith's arms crossed with this image, whereas with this image, if you look really close, you can see that she has her arm down to her side. There's just very subtle differences, and I don't know what the point of that would be. I don't know why that'd be the case. I don't know why they're not the same image, just different angle, but they're different. The Ultimania Plus's image is clearly meant to be the same key art, but at a different angle where we're looking outside, the walls of Midgar, the horizon, their future, all that other shit. But they went out of their way to make subtle differences, and I'm not really sure what the point is supposed to be. I don't know if there's meant to be something there, something symbolic. I don't know what that would be. Just thought it was weird. And when we come back to the original topic of this video, the Yuffie key art versus the Material Ultimania's cover, and implying that Yuffie is somewhere near our group, what would it matter anyways, even if that was the case? Is the implication that she's following our group, or she's going to meet up with our group at the end of the DLC, join up with us as we're leaving Midgar? We've seen the ending of Remake Part 1, and at least from the cutscene that we got, she's not with us, she's nowhere near us. She could meet up with us right after that, but at least with the ending of the game, Yuffie's not with us, obviously. Also, ultimately, this is just a promotional image for the game. This scene right here never happened in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Maybe it's implied that it happened, but we get to the end of the highway, it's nighttime at that point. We see Sephiroth, we go into the Singularity, do all the fighting bullshit, and the next time we meet up with our group, they are outside the walls of Midgar. We never got this scene. Similar to pretty much every other key art for FF7 and FF7 Remake, they're kind of just promotional images. The Tifa well Nibelheim scene, that never happened. As a grown adult, she never sat on the well in Nibelheim, at least that we've ever seen. Anyways, dudes, I've talked about this topic enough. This video is longer than it ever needs to be given the subject matter. But I talked about some people with this the other day whenever it was kind of more fresh of a discussion. And even a couple days later now, I'm still seeing this conversation. I figured, let's make a video about it real quick. Let's squash it. They're not the same images. They're nowhere near each other. Other than dudes, it's a weird one, but that is the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, guys. I only will submit more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on my notifications. Follow me on Twitter, @DashingDavidYT. I'm on Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.